Hello everybody and welcome to this verbaling class today with me, teacher Amy. This is a speaking class and our topic for this class is change. Do you like change? Are you a person who accepts change easily? What do you think about it? It's a big part of life and it's going to be an interesting discussion, so do come along in and join us if you want to practice your speaking while we talk about the topic of change. Before we get started, I'm going to give you a couple of links that you can use, sort of assist you here with your experience on verb. Those who out, they're in the chat box for you. The first one is my Facebook page, where you can just go ahead, and I think most people or everybody knows what Facebook is. So it's a really good way of just keeping in touch informally, sharing stuff together, getting a bit of a sense of community. And the other page is my Verbaling teacher page, which is where you can find some more detailed or concrete information about the teachers. So you'll find our sort of teaching history and work experience type stuff, and also our calendars. That's inclusive of both our upcoming classes, which is what you're in now, or private tutoring sessions, whereby you can have a session just you and the teacher. That's one-on-one. And you can check out the schedules and see if there are any slots that suit you. The messaging feature is also there, which is handy for getting in touch with us about anything. And if you click on the follow button, then you can follow a teacher and get notifications of when their classes are coming up. So, that's all behind us. Let's say hi to our lovely students and see who we've got to talk to us about change. Hello to Alonzo.
How are you, Abby?
I'm very well, thank you, Alonzo. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm great.
Good. And Alonzo, I don't think we've met before, have we?
Yes, it's my first time with you.
Well,
In my first class with you.
I'm
I live in Santiago, in Chile, and I studied in the British Institute, and I like to talk about Britain accent, you know.
I'm very pleased that you want to speak with a British accent. It's not too tricky, actually. Listen to lots of the BBC. That will help you. All right, well, good to meet you. Welcome to the class. Who else do we have here? Eduardo, welcome back.
Come back, teacher. Maybe I was here 20 minutes because it's 1 in the morning here.
If you fall asleep or if we hear snoring, we'll know it's you, Eduardo, and we'll mute your microphone, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, well, good to see you again, and I hope that you don't fall asleep, but we understand if you do. Johnny, long time no talk. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. And how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. How's life going? What are you up to?
It's going good. I mean, just studying and trying to get a job, and I don't know, trying to do something else because, you know, life is passing, and the year is passing by, and I needed to do something with my life, so I am still deciding what to do.
All right, fair enough. Well, don't rush it, Johnny, because don't forget, you know, it's an important decision.
Yeah.
And, yeah, think carefully about it. All right, welcome to the class. Always good to have you. Raphael,
Thank you.
welcome back.
Hello, Amy.
Are you a person who likes change? Raphael?
Unfortunately, not. I don't like.
You don't
one of-
like change.
It's one of my thousand flaws.
Once of your thousands of flaws. All right, you don't like change. That's understandable. You know, I think a lot of people are like that. I must say, I don't find it the easiest thing either. And let's say also hello to Tiago. How are you?
Hello, teacher. I'm doing well.
Good. Now, Tiago.
And I think that's the second class that we filled. I had a class, I think, last week.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
it's good to see you again.
Okay, thank you.
How is your life going? Okay? Hopefully.
But right now I'm in vacation from the university that I studied, and I'm just in my parents' house and resting, basically.
All right.
Uh,
Good. That sounds like a great
I
vacation.
I was supposed to study something, but I'm just resting. Yeah, right now.
Okay.
And study English, right? Practice English. Yeah.
Of course. Well, there you go. That's not resting.
Oh yeah, but it's
Well,
fun.
unless... All right. Well, I'm glad that you enjoy it. That's great. So we've got 5 boys here today. It'll be interesting to see whether you guys have similar or differing opinions on this topic. So, change is unavoidable, and really it's a huge part of life. And I put a quote on the class description, which I'm going to read out to you and put in the chat box, and we're going to use that as our first little discussion point. So, the quote is, "The only thing constant is change," i.e. the only thing that doesn't change is change, which is a little bit of a confusing quote. But what do we think of it, first of all? I'm going to ask Johnny, what do you think of this quote? Is it true? What's your experience?
Well, as far as I understood the code, I think that, it's sometimes we change, even though we don't want to change, sometimes things are just different as used to be some years ago. Like in my case, it's pretty much like this. I used to do things nowadays that I don't used to do in the past, and vice versa. So I have changed, but I didn't realize it's done. So I think that it has pretty much with the code as far as I understood it as.
Okay, absolutely. I really like the point you just brought up, whereby sometimes you look back on something and think, oh my gosh, I've changed, but you didn't notice it happening. It just suddenly came up on you, and one day you realize now that you're different than you were before, which is certainly something that's happened to me, or it happens all the time, actually. All right, let's ask Tiago. What do you think of the quote? Is it true?
Yeah, I think it's true because with the time we become older, right, and take more responsibilities and have many phases in the life. So I think that that's true. And I think that sometimes it's not easy to accept the change that happen. And I agree with John about that sometimes we don't realize that some change that happen, but I had another thing in mind to say, but I just forgot. Yes, yeah. What I can say is that I agree with this quote, and change is part of life. And okay, I remember. It's like that. Sometimes I, for example, sometimes try to don't change. I like to control the things, like to try to control how the things happen, but it's in general we like have few things that we actually can control, right? In our life, so that's That's the truth. I believe in.
Okay, thanks, Tiago. Some really great points there. Just a little useful English phrase popped into my mind when you were saying, well, both of you just said the same thing, that change sometimes happens to you without realizing. And we often say in English that it creeps up on you. So to creep is when you're being really quiet, you're slowly walking to not wake somebody up. That's creeping. And if you imagine change creeping up on you from behind and suddenly you've changed and you haven't noticed. So you can say something creeps up on you if it happens to you without you noticing. And suddenly, you're old. Well, I wouldn't say that anyone in this class is old, actually, but this is going to happen to us at some point, guys.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. But then again, I think there are advantages to getting older because you obviously have more life experience. So, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Life is a journey, I guess. All right. So, who haven't we asked yet? Let's ask Raphael. What do you think about the quote? Do you agree with it? The only thing constant is change.
The universe expands. It's expanding right now. So do we. And the hardest thing is to notice that. We don't have the ability to perceive the changes in our environment, at least as we should perceive. Because it's hard to understand what's happening sometimes, and I agree with that, generally speaking.
Yeah. All right. I just want to point out to those of you who haven't been to one of my speaking classes before, just that generally when you're speaking, unless you actually get stuck with something, I don't like to interrupt you because I stop your flow. So what I will do is to make comments in the chat box. So after you finish speaking to me, just check out the chat box and you'll see there generally corrections. And if you said something super duper amazing that I want to share, I might put that in there too. Eduardo, what do you think of the quote? The only thing constant is change. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I am agree. For example, the water in Ireland is change over time because one day it's raining sooner, cool, hot.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yes, that is very true of the whole of the UK, Eduardo. So it's like I think we're a little island and we've got water all around us, and I think the closer you are to the sea or the ocean, the weather seems to change more often. I remember when I was in Spain, it just like you could look out the window at the beginning of the day, and that would be the weather for the day, which was really handy because you knew what to wear and everything. But it's not the same as that in the UK.
No, one day, for example, today is sooner. I go to the bicycle, but I go to the bikes, I ready for go to the bicycle. Oh no, it's raining. No,
Yeah. Always take an umbrella with you, or a coat, or both.
Yes, no, or never side.
Yeah. All right, so yes, absolutely. Weather changes, especially if you're in the UK. It goes from rain to cold to rain, stops raining, rains again. No, it doesn't rain that much. Actually, it was supposed to have been a really good summer over there, my mum says, so.
Sorry, where you live, the weather is similar too.
Yes, I live in Auckland, in New Zealand, and the weather changes even more in the UK. In fact, we have a reputation for what people call 4 seasons in one day, which literally is like having autumn, winter, spring, and summer in one day. So it's a total nightmare. Okay, all right, so apart from the weather, which I'd say is not too difficult to deal with, there are worse things. There are more difficult changes to accept. So my next question to you guys is, What are the most difficult changes to accept or changes to get used to in life? What do you think? I'm going to ask Tiago first.
I think that's a hard question, but I think that the most difficult change is like when someone close died, like passed away. I think that's most difficult.
Somebody close to you passes away. May I ask you, is there anybody in your life who's close to you passed away?
Fortunately, no. Fortunately, no. But I imagine that this is the most difficult. Yeah, and yeah, I think that is. Yeah, the most difficult change that I imagine is like when some disaster happen, like when have a climate like a twist and destroy your house. So I think that's difficult to accept. And yeah, when something pretty bad happens in this way, and yeah, and yeah, it's basically my point.
Good, thanks, Tiago. So you've mentioned two things. One is that somebody who you're close to passes away, or that's another way of saying dies, right? We don't tend to use the word to die that much because it's a bit harsh, and we love euphemisms in English. So yes, to pass away is quite commonly used. I just want to point that out for those of you who haven't heard it before. And the other is natural disasters or big disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes. Really big events that sort of shatter your life, maybe. Yep, absolutely. Fortunately, I've never experienced a natural disaster, but I can imagine that it must be incredibly difficult. Let's ask Johnny. What do you think, Johnny?
I believe that, one of the most difficult changes that we needed, it's harder to accept. It's just like Tiago said, when our loved ones pass away, or the fact that we are getting old each day. So, especially when you were a teenager and you started to adult life, so we started to have more responsibilities, and you realize that that's your life since then, So you needed to take care of yourself, and you will never, had that support like when you do something wrong when you were a teenager and someone is gonna look after you, so you don't have that anymore, because if you do something bad, you're gonna have your punishment, so you needed to realize that you're having much more responsibilities, so you needed to learn how to deal with that. So when you are young, it's really difficult to accept that, because we grow up, I grew up thinking that in my whole life, someone is always, be there for me when I do something wrong, but it's not like that. If I do something wrong, I will need to accept, that I will have a punishment, and that's the way that it is, and that's the way that I think it's most difficult to accept.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. I mean, obviously, all of us in this class are sort of, I would say, in roughly the same life section. I mean, if you divide it into maybe like childhood and teenage, and then adult life, and then being an elderly person, we're all sort of in the middle bracket. But I can imagine that the transition between those different sections of life are probably the most difficult transitions as well. Just as you said, Johnny, growing up, and probably at the other end of the growing up, which is getting old or sort of going down again at the end of your life, must be really tough.
Yes, when you started to do things by yourself, because I don't know if you grow up with your family and you always had your parents with you to help you out when you are in troubles or when you needed to deal with something difficult. So when you don't have that anymore, it's really difficult, to deal with it. It's really difficult to learn how to deal with it. So, after that point to the adult life, life is tough. It will all be tough, so you needed to accept that.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Johnny. Great points. Eduardo, what do you think is the most difficult change to accept?
Oh my God. I notice it's the pain because some people have at the different expectation,
Expectation?
different thing, expectation. Yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes. Is for me it's the pain because I know.
So it depends on your sort of personal viewpoint. Is that what
Yes,
you're saying?
I try explain it's the pain you expect you. No,
Maybe
Be-
experience?
no. Expectatives. Maybe this word should in my English book.
What's the word in Spanish?
No, this is the word in English.
Hmm.
Because it's a you want or you need un yes, but you let's say this is un no. It's you broken. You understand me?
No, I don't, Eduardo.
No, sorry. The more
Try to explain it.
difficult.
Hmm.
No, I try. The more difficult. Uh, the more difficult things is you depend your expectations because you need or you want for example is do you like one voice he not do like you it's difficult for you want you understand
Yes, I understand. I'm pretty sure that you mean expectations. Yeah,
expectation.
Yes, it is
I
expectations.
agree. Okay, thanks, guys, just to confirm that. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Eduardo. Because I think your expectations about things have a really big impact on how you end up experiencing them, right? Because if you're really, really hoping for something and it doesn't happen, it can be really disappointing. Sometimes if you're not expecting something and then it happens, it's sort of almost easier to cope with because you don't have any preconceptions about what should have been happening or what you wish had happened. So great point, Eduardo. Can you give me a specific example of something maybe in your life?
In my life uh, my platonic logs you
Your
know
what?
platonic log. Oh no, it's more difficult. I don't want.
Can you think of a simple example, Eduardo?
More simple example. Maybe broke my car.
Okay. So when your car breaks down.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, that's very annoying, actually. I agree. That's a difficult change to accept. All right. Let's ask Johnny. What do you think? No, have I asked you already? Who haven't I
Yeah,
asked? I've lost.
you have.
Who
I think
haven't I asked?
that's Rafael, the
Raphael.
next one to answer it.
All right, Raphael. Sorry. You answered this one? He's gone. He
I
can't
really
cope with
want
the
to
changing
answer this
fast.
question, but
You can't.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I was hearing the I was hearing the answers of our classmates. I was listening to the answers of our classmates, and
Mhm.
I identified with some of them, but I haven't reached an right answer for me. So
So you're gonna pass?
yes,
All
my
right. If
answer
you
is the mix. You can pick all these answers and put them in a mix, and
All
it's
right.
my
So
answer.
all right. Fair enough. I have to agree with you there, Raphael, because I'd say they've all made really good points. All right. So Raphael, I'm going to ask you a different question in that case. Um, do you think it's possible to avoid change? Do you try to avoid change? Do you attempt to avoid change in your life? And how do you do it?
Yes, I try to avoid changes, but it's useless. There's no way out. We must accept it. Uh, at least we try to. At least I try to pretend that they are not changing, but it's impossible. Uh, the time goes by, and we notice that things are changing, and our own life, our own way of seeing things, our own way to face life, face things of life, face our destiny.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. It's kind of fun saying about destiny because I don't believe in it. Since we are changing every time, so uh, yes, I try to live my life without thinking in this. Try to live my life naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in the best way I can do.
Absolutely. Why do you think, Raphael, that change is so uncomfortable? What is it about it? So you
Because
said at the beginning of class, yeah.
because
Go ahead.
everyone is afraid of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. We are the human being. If we check out history, um, changes. Every change is preceded by fear,
Mm-hmm.
fear of uncertainty, fear of the unknown. What will happen next? What will happen at following? We don't know. So we are afraid of. It's part of our human sense, I think.
All right. I agree with you there. Um, all right. So what I want to do is change the tack of the class a little bit because what we've so far been talking about is sort of like how change affects us, right? How it happens, how it just happens randomly or happens outside of our control, and what we do about that. And the point is that we can't really do a lot. However, let's look at it from the other perspective now. And I'm going to give you another quote from Gandhi, a great guy, which takes this and turns it around, really. So the quote is, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." So firstly, I just want to say, what does he actually mean by this? What is your interpretation of this quote? So, Tiago, what do you think?
So can you repeat the quote? I think that.
Sure. It's in the chat box as well, Tiago. It says, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world."
Okay. Okay. For some reason, my chat box is not being updated.
Oh,
For
okay. I'm going
some
to put it in the other one for you as well. Can you see that one? That's the
Okay.
Google chat.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. It's an interesting quote. I think that uh, it's possible to have many different interpretations for this quote,
Mhm.
but I think that I agree in the way that, for example, don't expect that another people do the things for example, I wish. It's like more to do the things that I wish, and I think that is important, and like uh, do what I can do to to like make it real the things that I want and help the people that I care about, and if it is possible to help to improve the world.
Mhm.
So that's the my interpretation for this quote, and yeah, in this way I agree with this. Uh, this quote, like, is summarize is like to don't wait for someone else to do the things that they think it's important that you wish that you think that matter. So that's
Yeah.
in this way I agree.
All right. And do you actually, would you say that you do this, Tiago, in your life, or not really?
More or less. No, I think that I want to do, and I think that increase in this way I'm increasing like day by day. I'm increasing my, how can I say, my, I don't know
Ability?
the word. Yeah, I
Maybe?
think ability. Yeah, and yeah, it's like I see this like a goal,
Mm-hmm.
like I think that uh, to walk for achieve, like something to achieve, and yeah, I think that uh, what can I say? Uh, yeah, I
You're
think
speaking
that.
very well, Tiago. Keep going. Getting stuck. You're doing great.
So I think that right now I'm not in the way that I want to do. I want to be, but I want to improve this and be better in that way.
All right. Great. Thanks, Tiago, for sharing that. Does anyone want to respond to what Tiago's just said?
Yes,
I
I do
think
wanna.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
go
I
ahead.
see. Okay, which one?
Johnny, you go first, and then we'll go to Eduardo.
That's all
thank
right.
you.
Well, I think that, just like someone wrote in the chat box, you need to start with yourself. I think that's the way that the author is trying to say, like sometimes we like to complain about, oh, the world is going crazy, the people are so mean, so cold, so everything is so bad, but you are acting like those people, like if you want that the world changes, you need it to change as well. You need to be more kind. You need to care about the environment. You need to care about people. You need to be different. So people are gonna look at you and they are gonna act like we're acting right now. So the world is gonna crazy, but it depends on you. If you just wait for that change, so the world is gonna be the same. You needed to start with yourself. You needed to change first, and then people in your circle, your friends, your family are gonna do the same, and the world is gonna get better.
Hmm. Thanks, Johnny. Great point. Eduardo, what were you going to say?
But it's similar to the points of Johnny. I think if you want change the world, you need change because all time I need a change for the new anything. If you want maybe if the list is changeable all time.
Hmm.
You need changeable for the more person, more job, more uh, more situation is sometimes it's difficult, it's easy, but all time everybody changeable. It's my
Hmm.
point.
Yeah. Do you think, Eduardo, it's possible to improve at changing? Is it possible to actually get better at dealing with change? Or is it just the nature of different things happen to you every time, so it's sort of impossible to
No,
get any
no,
better?
I think it's possible.
Hmm. And how? What's your strategy? How would you advise me if I was having a problem with change?
Oh my god. I
He's
know.
regretting coming to my classes on his first day at Verbling. Poor Eduardo.
I know because I think it depends of you want.
Hmm.
You need change the plans every day, every month
Hmm.
because the results is the one recompense.
So, can you repeat what you just said, Eduardo? The
The result,
the result
the result
mhm, is what?
is you need change because after you need to research better.
Okay, I see what you mean. The result is the reward, is what I think you mean. The reward.
Okay, okay, can
Yeah?
you write it, please?
Sure. Thanks, Eduardo. Yeah,
Thank
I like
you.
that. I like that idea. All right, Raphael, we haven't heard from you. Do you want to add anything to that? Otherwise, I'm going to give you another quote.
Uh, we must try to do our best in order to change the world. We must change ourselves firstly. Yeah.
All right. So I really like that idea that that it starts with yourself. That in order to change something big, you first have to start right here with you. Yeah. So that leads me on to another quote, which is a little bit longer. So I'm going to get you to read it, please, Raphael, if you wouldn't mind. Can you see it there in the chat box?
Uh, Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They are not fond of rules, and they have no respect for their status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can do is ignore them because they can change because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Thank you. Beautifully read. All right, I find this quote quite inspiring myself. So I just want to see what your perspective is. Let's ask Johnny. What do you think about this?
I'm still trying to get the full quote, but you know, as far as I understood, I think that he's trying to say only different people who have a different point of view about the world, people who wants to change, you know, the way that we are living, the way that the world is right now. So when they think about improving the world, so that's the way that the world changes because we need people like this to move forward and be you know, better people. We have a better society. So I think it started with those kind of people. You know, normal people usually don't want to change, you know, and different people always have a different opinion about that. They are not comfortable. They wanna, you know, do different things, do big things. So that's the way that the world changes. You know, and it started with those people.
Thanks, Johnny. Eduardo, what do you think?
Nothing. I'm sorry, I
That's
forget.
perfectly fine.
I'm sorry, I forget because I thinking other.
You were thinking about something else. That's all right. Take your time, Eduardo. Tiago, I've just pasted the quote into that chat box. Can you see it now?
Yes, yes.
All right. Sorry, it seems like the other one. I don't know why you're not getting it, but there you go. If you want to refer to it, Tiago, what would you like to say? Anything about that quote? Do you agree with it? If you got experiences you could share with us.
So actually, I I didn't get all the code before.
Okay.
So
Let me just take a moment to explain it because it's quite long and there's a few little words in there that might not be familiar. So bear with me for a sec, guys. It says, firstly, here's to. If you say here's to something, what you're doing is you're celebrating it. So if for example, imagine you're at a wedding and you have a toast, you've got your drink in your hand, you'll say something like, here's to the bride and groom. It means, let's celebrate the bride and groom. Your toast is towards that. So if somebody says, here's to something or other, it means they want to celebrate it. So Apple, the company, this is a quote from their company, is saying, we want to celebrate the crazy ones, the crazy people, the people who don't fit in, the misfits. They don't fit into society. The rebels, they rebel. The troublemakers, they cause trouble. The round pegs in the square holes. Have you guys heard that phrase before? Can anyone explain what it means?
Which one?
Round peg in a square hole.
I don't know what that means.
No? Alright, it's
No.
worth going through. This is quite a common one. Idiom. Okay, so a peg is something that you use to hang up your washing on the line, right? You go like this. But it's also what you call when you're doing building work, for example. It's like maybe a short piece of wood, and you would put it into something. So if this is a square shape and this is a round shape, the peg will not fit in properly, and that's what we mean when we say a round peg in a square hole. It means basically that one thing doesn't fit. A person who's a misfit or a troublemaker or a rebel does not fit nicely into society. But,
Yeah.
says the quote, these people are the people we should be celebrating. Because they see things differently, right? They don't like rules, they don't like the status quo or what's just the general considered the norm of society. And then it goes on to say you can do whatever you like with them, but you can't ignore them. Because the people who are so crazy that they actually think that they can change the world are the ones who generally do make some kind of a difference. So
Like
does everyone
people-
understand?
Yes, like people who are hungry to change, or it's like I've heard of that before. So I think we needed to have more people like this. People who are not comfortable with the real situation. It can be in each aspect of their lives. And about the world as well. So people who wants to change the way that the government is dealing with the country, for example. So there are several ways to say that people who are not comfortable with their own lives, so they want to change it. They are hungry to change the way that they are nowadays and the way that their situation is, So when people are crazy, when people think that they can do big things, so we needed to celebrate those people because they think different, So the world needed to change, So based on those people, we are going to change because they are not afraid of it. When you are not afraid, you can do big things.
Absolutely. Thank you, Johnny. Anyone else like to respond? No? Right, you guys are doing well. I know this is a tricky topic. I always choose tricky topics on purpose, though. You might have noticed. All right. So, thanks, Raphael, for sharing that video. Yes, did someone want to say something?
So I think that I agree in some way with this quote. It's like basically like is the Apple, and they in general they are looking for creative people in general.
Yeah.
I think that matches with the interest about like to hire creative people, but I think that have a little of exaggeration here. Like I think that actually they don't want people so crazy, because and actually I think that people over there in general are and in general are pretty normal, but have some craziness. There is this word craziness about some like in some way to have some like concentrated in some skills or some abilities, like to produce something. Probably there are some people that are how can I say more rebels or more crazy, like maybe Steve Jobs, but I think that are few. Um but I think that in some way this is like a general aspect of some big companies. How can I say technology companies,
Yes.
software companies. So yeah, but I think that like inspiration quote, but they don't expect actually that the people be so crazy or so rebel. It's like more to give some inspiration for the people that work there and for the people that want to work there. Yeah, basically this is my vision about this.
Thanks, Tiago. Yeah, I have to say that sounds like it could certainly be true. Um, what about you, Eduardo? Do you have anything to add?
No.
All right, fair enough. That's fine. All right, so I want to finish off with do take a look at the video, Raphael. I'm going to watch that after class. But I just want to finish with a sort of a final thing, which is related to what we just read. I want you to think about somebody who has changed something in life, in the world, in history, or maybe that's still alive right now and is changing things. And tell me why you think that this person is inspirational, or what you admire about them, or maybe what you think is bad about them. So just have a think about that for a moment. Somebody who has changed or is changing something in our world. Who are they, and why did you choose that person to talk about? So does anybody want to go first?
Basically, we gotta talk about someone who is made a big thing or is making a big thing in a world, and like you needed to talk about that person and why does he inspire us or stuff like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be somebody who's doing something big, Johnny. It could also be, I don't know, somebody, one of your friends, or I don't know, just somebody who's changing something.
I want to talk about Brazilian Inventor.
Okay.
I don't know if yes, the guy that created the airplanes, the Santos Dumont, the Brazilian Inventor. You know, so I was watching his documentary and another day on YouTube. It's pretty good. I recommend if you guys wanna see it. So. You know, I remember when he's Brazilian, but he created the first airplane in France. And, you know, he always dreamed about flying, you know. It was something really impossible in that time because people, you know, used to say, oh, how is it possible to a human to fly, you know? So, but he didn't care about that, and it was his dream, and he dreamed about that, and he worked really hard, and the people were always telling such bad things. Oh, you would never do it because it's impossible. You are crazy. Why you think something like that? Why do you think that humans can fly? So he didn't care about that, and he created the first airplane, and you know he changed the way that people, you know. Move it to a place to another. You know, nowadays we have the airplanes, you know, thanks to him. So yeah, so he dreamed, he had a goal, he worked hard, and he did. So he did a huge thing in the world because, you know, he believed it in himself, and even though people were saying that it could never be done, he didn't trust on those people, and he just did. So. You know, he's an inspiration to me. So when I want to do something big, I just remember, you know, how those people succeed even though all of the obstacles. And you needed to see yourself succeeding in the future, even though we're not succeeded yet. So you needed to work hard, but you needed to see yourself like a winner in the future, even though you are not a winner yet. My point. So yeah, that's the way that I do with it. So.
I have to write that down, Johnny. What an awesome thing to say. You have to see yourself as a winner in the future, even though you're not a winner yet, right?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. The person that they would like to talk about. Nobody's inspired by anybody? I don't believe you. Raphael, is there anybody who you feel inspired by, who's done something to change something?
No one comes to my mind right now. I'm trying to figure out someone to talk to, but...
All right, I'll come back to you. How about you, Tiago?
I think that I used to have some inspiration persons, but right now I think that I'm with a lack of inspiration, and I think that I need to look for more inspiration.
Okay, well there you go.
I think that have some I think that have some guys that made some pretty good contributions for the world, like Thomas Edison, that made some craziness for build for example, the lights that we have in the house, and made research about electricity. So I think that it's a guy that I can that get in my mind. I think that made a pretty good job. But I think that I need to look for more inspiration right now in the next time.
All right,
So
Tiago.
yeah, it's my point.
Thank you. How about you, Eduardo? Is there anybody who you're inspired by? He's gone to sleep. We're gonna have to wake him up. Eduardo!
His microphone is open, but
yeah, he did warn us he might go to sleep. Poor Eduardo. All right, well, let me mention someone who inspires me then while we're waiting. Raphael, if you come up, but then when you can finish off. The other, I think it was last week actually, I watched the DVD which has recently come out on the life of Nelson Mandela, and I had known a little bit about him, obviously what he's accomplished in his life, but what really struck me when I watched this film was actually the fact that he really achieved a lot through it was just a sort of determination and persistence, and he didn't actually do a lot. He was in prison for so many years, and he couldn't do anything, literally. But the fact that he was in prison was the thing that sort of started the change and kept it going. And in the end, he achieved such an enormous goal, from changing the whole system that was running and ingrained in South Africa. And it sort of makes you realize that the power of just believing in something is almost enough, It's not all about fighting and screaming. It's not all about having to do stuff every day or be really busy. I think that was an amazing thing that struck me from that film. And he wasn't a perfect man. He did stuff wrong, but he achieved such an amazingly powerful thing just by sticking to it, really. So that kind of inspired me.
But you know what? I like to think that there are people outside that they have less, but they are achieving more, than those people who only complain, but they have all of the resources to do a huge thing in life, So sometimes when you don't do something good, you fall on your knees, you start to cry. But you needed to. The thing is, you needed to focus on your strengths. If you have your weakness, you needed to. You don't need to focus on your weakness. For example, if you don't have one arm and you have the other arm, so you can use that other arm to do the things that you could do with both arms. You know what I'm saying? So if you have all of your arms, you have your fingers, you have your hands. If you have
both arms, Johnny, not all of your arms, unless you're an octopus.
Yeah, both. Yeah, of course. So if you have if you are healthy, to go ahead and in pursue your goals, your dreams. So you needed to believe it's all about persistence and encouragement. So if you don't have that, you can have all of the resources, you can have money, you can have all of that sort of thing. But if you don't have desire, if you are not hungry to achieve your dreams, you will never do it. So it's all about you.
Thank you, Johnny. Very inspirational. All right, guys. Thanks for that. What a great conversation. I know that it was a tricky discussion topic. You had to use a lot of tenses, and you had to think really hard. I did make you work hard today, didn't I? But well done, because you've done really well. Do go ahead to Facebook and post your ideas if they spring into your mind later on. And don't forget to check the chat box. Oh, I need lunch. To check the chat box before you leave to check out any corrections. But congratulations on a great speaking class from all of you. Well done. So take care, have a great evening, and I hope to see you all again soon. See you later.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.